Okay, so today is the start of your UCAS journey or your apprenticeship journey, or if you are going for the degree apprenticeship, the mix of the two. Okay, today we are going to look at overview of the whole process, and I will share with you the rest of the timeline as we go on. Right, this assembly is being videoed. When I have finished here, I will go and edit it, top and tail it. I will then be uploading it to a YouTube channel, and I will be putting a link on Google Classroom, probably before I go, okay, where you will be able to access it afterwards. Feel free to share the link with your parents, although your parents have got a dedicated parents' evening on the 19th of June. Can I say, ideally, you should not be sharing this video with people from other schools. Okay, they have their own things they're going to say. I do know that previous videos have been shared around. Okay, now, the second thing is if you consider yourself to be an early entry student, that is somebody who wants to do medicine, veterinary, dentistry, Oxford or Cambridge, some nursing courses, and you need to make sure you've done your research, I need an email from you. I know some of your tutors earlier on in the year could have put a list together, but I need from you full name, tutor group, the course you are going to be studying, the A-levels you are currently doing, and an email address. You may say, well, I've sent it to you from an email address. I need you to put that in there because I just need commas between it so I can grab that data so I can communicate with you. The email address should not be your school one.
Can I just add on that? If you had an email address from when you were 12 years old and you may have given yourself gamer7069 or 72 or something like that, please change it to a sensible email address which you could be contacted on. Okay?
Yeah, because that email address, when you apply to university, that will be the email address that will go right the way through your university courses. So, okay, one or two other bits and pieces. Just if you are looking at sort of the medics, the vets or the dentistry stuff, don't forget there is the Medic Mentor, which also covers dentistry. There's a lot of stuff there, and I've been posting a whole load of interview stuff and other bits and pieces. Don't forget there is Investing, who are offering a whole load of work experience. Yes, you have to pay for it, but all I can say is it's much better than a lot of other stuff that is around. The students who have spent on some of the courses have been absolutely excellent. There are some that are rather expensive, but that's up to you and your decision. There is also a new one called Law Mentor. I know we put a lot of students into law. That's becoming increasingly competitive, and the Law Mentor group will put you in touch with things that can actually help you with various bits and pieces. For those of you who are considering Oxbridge, there is a personal statement session run by Wellington College. They are fabulous, and that session is an online session, and it is in a fortnight's time, but you need to have applied. Can I say for that one, you actually have to apply using your school email address. Okay, you can use your one from Google Classroom, but for various reasons that they want that one. Okay. Now, just to let you know, there is the UCAS 2025 Google Classroom. I've posted whole loads of information on there. There are about 240 of you, but only 192 of you have actually joined that classroom. The codes are on the screens. It would be useful for you, particularly if you want to do degree apprenticeships, that you actually join that Google Classroom. So, we're now into applying to university for UCAS 2025. So, at the end of this session, you will understand the timeline, which is vital. You will understand the application process. This is an overview of the process, and how to track your application. As I said, you will not take this all in. There are 2 more assemblies in which we're going to break down some of this into some more detail. Okay, so first things is the UCAS Hub. Now, you need to make sure that you have signed up to the UCAS Hub. I'll go through some details of that later on. That is where you will find vast amounts of information. It's where you will now find the searches, which opened on Monday, to about 35,000 different courses, which allows you to explore all sorts of bits and pieces going forward. There are also some subject access to some other bits and pieces. You cannot, there is a tile in there for start your application. You cannot start your application through Maiden Early School until we have had our UCAS assembly, which will be on the 7th of June, and then I will make the application process live for you here from the school. There are a whole variety of tiles in the UCAS hub. You can actually post questions. You can chat to existing students, okay? Particularly from after half term, there will be people available on all occasions. Okay, there are also university taster videos for you to have a look at courses, and also there are some live sessions which you can sign up for. New for you this year is the fact that they are now be able to apply to both universities and apprenticeships side by side. The apprenticeship side goes live on the 1st of September, which will allow you to fill in one form and create a letter and a CV, and then when you apply for an apprenticeship, it's all just shipped straight across. You don't have to fill in multiple online forms. That's new for you guys for this year, but allows you to run the two side by side, and particularly for degree apprenticeships where you get paid to do your degree. Okay? My eldest son, who is a doctor, he's still got 90-odd thousand pounds worth of debt from his student loan, having studied for 5 years. My youngest son is just completing his degree apprenticeship, and he has that much debt. Okay, all of his course has been paid for by the company he works for. He's actually been earning, well, he's on the higher tax income bracket, so that tells you some idea of how much he earns, and he's been paid to do his degree. So there are advantages for degree apprenticeships, and they are available to apply through UCAS. Okay, what you can do on the UCAS hub is that you can start to build up your profile. What you want to do, where you want to go, we've already talked about some of those considerations. But you can start to build a short list of courses, and then when you start your application, they can just be carried straight across if you put your short list together, which saves you having to do all that rummaging again. So very, very useful to be able to do that on the UCAS hub. You have subject spotlights. There are various, as I said, videos. A lot of universities at open days allow you to go into lectures. What they've actually done is that most universities have now recorded those from last year's open days, and they are now available for you to have a look at. Okay, you can't get to visit all the universities, you can't get a feel for all the courses, particularly when you go to an open day. There's a lot to cram into that day, including travelling there and back, etc. And this is very useful to be able to see the videos. The chat to students, a number of students, this was new last year, and a number of the current year 13 found that really, really helpful, that they could actually talk to university students about the courses that they were on and what was the difference and why did they choose the course that they wanted, that they've actually gone on to. Things like, also you can chat about what the accommodation is like, which halls did they pick, all really sort of useful information that isn't put forward by the university themselves. If you want it, there is a quiz to help you get your matches right, putting in your A-level subjects. You may say, well, I want to go to uni, but I'm not sure of my options. Well, you can put various bits, and it will come up with some answers as to where might be the best place for you to have a look. It works very well, and it's very, very helpful. The Hub Lives are absolutely really, really helpful. Okay, the universities have got, there are some which they're running for staff, and they're running some for students. I tapped into one of the student ones on Wednesday, and they're there available for you to look at retrospectively, but they cover all sorts of bits and pieces, like if you don't have a UK passport, how do you manage your application? What sort of things do you have to consider? All of that was there on a live about a fortnight ago. Okay, And also you can actually filter events and open days, and you can see on the right hand side there were some samples of some UCAS discoveries at various places and a list of open days, although I'm posting links to that on Google Classroom as well. Something about a comma station and something about helping you build your personal statement, but more about that on another occasion. So let's now have a look at the overall for the application process. It's a big decision to make because you're going to leave home and you're going to go to university. So you need to think about what sort of style of university you might be interested in. Do you want to have a campus university like Reading? Or do you want to have a town-based university where actually the various buildings are spread throughout the town? Do you want to go to London? Do you fancy going to university in London? Okay, think about the size of the university. Some universities are very big, some are smaller. You might wish to consider that. Basically, culture and facilities. Think about that for the university. Most universities now have to say what the past students have done. Okay, what is their sort of probability of getting employment? What are the tuition fees and what are the extras? That can start to clock up if you are doing particular courses. The universities will declare what those extras happen to be and look at living costs, and also thinking about the social life and sports. If you are particularly into certain sports, certain universities look at those with a priority and actually will give reduced grades to students. We had a student a few years ago who had the potential to go to the Olympics as a gymnast. A number of universities said, right, we will allow you to do a 4-year degree and giving you time off to actually work for your sport. And so worth inquiring, worth putting that down, and worth talking to the universities about. You need to think about the course. I'm not going to go through all this. This slide deck will be available afterwards. But basically, not all courses that by the same title cover the same things. Okay? There are some courses that are far more practical than others. There are courses with placements. You know, you might be somebody saying, well, I'd really like to do it. There are other courses that cover different things. Okay? So make sure you have had a look at what it says, okay, and think about the title of the course, how is it structured, how is it going to be assessed at the end of the day. And that's important for you to consider. Also thinking about the teaching. Okay, some courses are very lecture-based, some are very tutorial-based in small groups. You know, same course, different universities, different styles of teaching. You can actually look that up and do your research for that. So you need to make sure you start to get yourself organised, starting to gather that information together. The UCAS Hub is one good place to do it, or just create yourself a folder on your laptop, get a document, start a Word document and start putting in the various bits and pieces, the information that you have gathered. Okay? Look at the online prospectuses. There used to be the days when you'd send away and you get a paper copy, paper prospectus. We don't have those anymore. Okay, so you need to look very carefully. Don't forget, the universities will always put the best things on show on the website. That's why it's good to talk to some of the students who are actually there, because they will tell you bits and pieces and tell you the truth. And think about the things that maybe you haven't thought about. Okay, so this is what your tiles will look like on the UCAS Hub page. Okay, and if you have already put in for apprenticeship opportunities, they will appear on a regular basis, the latest one. Apprenticeships don't always get all advertised in one go. It occurs on a rolling basis as companies are looking for various people. Okay, and that's the second half of the page. And you can actually put various bits of notes in here. Later on, when the personal statement builder is fired up, you can actually build that and then paste that in, but more about personal statement later on. So, here is your timeline for Maiden Early. We'll just run through it. So, 7th of June, I'm going to do the overview today. On the 7th of June, we have an assembly purely on the application process. All those little details that you need to get in and the common mistakes that people make every year. We then have those of you who are an early entry. as we said, the medicine, the science, some of the sciences, veterinary, Oxford or Cambridge, you have a UCAS deadline of the 15th of October. But in order for us to process your application, the early entry maiden early school deadline is the 27th of September. That is the last Friday of September. Can I just say, last year, the current year 13, Wellington College put on a little personal statement coaching session on the following Monday, and therefore we said to the Oxbridge people, right, you can have an extra week. But their applications were virtually finished, bar tweaking their personal statement. For the rest of you, we have the equal consideration deadline, and I'll tell you what your deadline is. There are a couple of things called extra and the closing date for applications before clearing, but those are later. So here are the maiden early dates. Okay, so the end of April, the courses were supposed to be in the search tool. They weren't. In reality, everything went live on the 15th of May. There was so we're here the 17th of May, and I'm going to explain the process to you. 7th of June, we've got the application launch assembly. From that day onwards, you can then apply. 14th of June, we've got a statement on personal statements. Then on the 19th is a parents' evening. You don't need to come to that, because everything in that evening will be, a lot of it I will have already shared with you. There's some extra bits for your parents, but you don't need to worry about that. On the 8th of July, as far as I understand, is the Future Pathways Day, and there will be an hour session in a computer room for you to work on your personal statements and anything else UCAS related on that day. 27th of September, as I've said, is the early entry deadline. 15th of October is the UCAS early entry deadline from UCAS. In other words, by 6 o'clock on that day, not a minute after, the applications have to be submitted. And the 7th of January, which is the second day of the spring term, is the deadline which has worked for UCAS at school. Okay. And then finally, the 29th of January is the UCAS equal consideration deadline. You say, hang on, there's nearly a month there. Well, can I tell you, an application takes about 20 minutes to check. I personally have checked every single UCAS application before it goes, before I click the go button. Okay? So that's why, and if you think about how many hours in a day, and you can only do so many per hour, it's about 3 per hour. Count the number of people in this room, and that tells you how long it takes to check all the UCAS applications, hence the time. Your tutors have got to do the checks. They've got to put references in. We've then got to check it all again. So that's why there is that long period of time there. So here are some key facts. That you register via the UCAS Hub. You've got 5 choices. You don't have to use all 5. Some people say, oh, well, I don't know what to put as my 5th choice. You don't have to have a 5th choice. You can apply just to one university if that university does the course you want and it's the only one in the country. I was helping somebody from another school last year who wanted to do a particular music course, and Chichester was the only university that did it, so they put down one application and they got in. Okay? You cannot apply, so if it's the vets and medicine, medicine, any science, dentistry, then it's only 4 choices. You can't apply to both Oxford and Cambridge. The cost is £28.50, whether you apply to 1 or 5 courses. Okay, and I've said the equal consideration date is the 29th of January. And can I just say something? Let's dispel this myth. Okay, can I say it's not a problem for you, because your applications, once you put them in, they go into alphabetical order. Probably when your parents went to university, if they went to university, the order in which the universities were put down was important. It's not that anymore. Because it's electronic, the universities do not know which other universities you've applied to. When I applied to university, I applied to go to Imperial College and Queen Mary College, whichever one you put first, the other one might not give you an offer. Because there was this sort of snooty thing about, oh, you've got to put one higher than the other. Doesn't matter anymore. Your parents will probably tell you to the contrary. I had an email from a parent saying last year, well, we've been trying really hard to put them in the right order, and every time we click save, it rearranges them. That is because they're put in alphabetical order, okay? And it doesn't matter. And I will re-emphasise that at the parents' evening. So if you apply to Reading, then I'd say Bristol don't know that you've applied to Reading and vice versa. They all go off individually, and the electronic system strips off the other application. So that's important. There will be the start button. If you go into the hub, you'll see that tile has appeared, okay? But your application does not go live until the 7th of June, okay? The morning of the 7th of June, I will hit the go live, and therefore you'll be able to start your application after that assembly, because I will have told you something called the buzzword. Okay, we're linking to the school because we need to see your application, okay? Basically, it says, are you applying from a school or college or centre? Yes, and we will put in the buzzword. Now, can I say something to you? The application takes time. Okay, you need to allow blocks of time. The advantage now is you can do different bits. So you can do your personal details and you can say, right, I've done that. That's taken me about 5 minutes, because particularly if you put all your information in the UCAS hub, you can just carry that across. But other bits and pieces take longer, and it'll be important that you get the details right, and I'll explain that later on. Okay, all of these areas, okay, you are going to have to cover. Okay, from your personal details down to extra activities and employment, all of those bits and pieces, and you need to get them right. Okay, and I'll explain that on the 7th of June. The personal statement, okay, let me just say one thing, and I will re-emphasise this, is that the personal statement is put through what's called their similarity detection service. Okay, which means they're looking for plagiarism, okay? If you've got an older brother or sister who was successful and you sort of take their personal statement and copy it across, it will flag it up within 2 hours of you submitting the application. I will get an email, you will get an email, and normally what happens is your application is rejected, and it says, will you please discuss with the student, and it will send your personal statement back to me with the bits it's discovered which have been copied. Okay? So don't do it. There are lots of examples out there on the web. Don't do it. Write it yourself. The issue might be you say, well, actually, if you apply again, because we support students who maybe didn't get in the first time and apply again, you can actually resubmit your personal statement because it identifies the person being the same person. Okay? But be aware of that. Okay? And there are some details, as I said, you can look at these afterwards. Now, when I say start early, we always get students who think they'll leave their application till January. They're the ones in a panic. They're the ones who start making lots and lots of mistakes. So you need to get, I would say, the majority of the core data into your UCAS application this term. Okay? So that you can actually get all of that. It tends to focus your research. Okay? And you can use the UCAS tool, and you will be given time in, that state has changed, you'll be given time in July to look at it. Okay? I have been a sixth form tutor now and doing the UCAS process for 35 years. I have seen so many students who have left it to the last minute and make lots of mistakes. Okay? So, don't. And I'm going to give you your first task at the end of this session. Okay? There are various things for you to consider. Have you chosen the right subject for the right reasons? That's one of the things that's important, and that should be reflected in your personal statement that you say, I want to study X because. Okay? It is quite pressured at university, believe it or not. You do have to do some work. The only problem is nobody's going to be chasing you necessarily. Do you have the depth of interest in your subject? Okay? Are you committed and motivated? And can I say you will need to have reasonable numeracy and literacy skills. But we will talk more about that. Okay, can I say the universities will review your personal statement, Your qualifications, yes, you have to put down all your GCSEs. Somebody asked me this question, I got a U in a subject, do I have to put it down? Yes, you took it. Okay, doesn't matter what the grade was, you still have to put it down. And we will be writing a reference, and I will talk about things to do with the reference next time, but the reference is what we write about you, and we never write anything negative. Okay? We always write positive things about the students at Maiden Early. For some of you, some students, there is less to write than others. Okay? Your subject teachers will be writing about you. They will be writing about you towards the end of the next half term, putting your references together. Okay? Universities may also ask you to take an admissions test. If you're doing the medical stuff, you already know about UCAS and you should be running towards that. There may be an interview, and also they may ask you for a portfolio, an example. So what I would say to you, look at the courses. If you're thinking about doing anything art-based or architecture or anything like that, there will be a portfolio. You need to start putting that together. I had one student a couple of years ago came to me and said, oh, this university's asked me to take a portfolio to them tomorrow. Can you help me with the printing? This was at about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I think we both went home about 7, you know. Yes, there was a box of chocolates and a bottle of red wine that followed fairly closely on a few days later. But no, we don't want to be doing that. So make sure you get ahead as far as that's concerned. Okay, now once you have actually clicked that sent button, okay, all sorts of interesting things start to happen. And basically you can follow your progress of your applications. And it's important that you do that simply because universities may well come back to you and say, I want this, or I want that, or I want some additional information, and you have a limited time frame in which to get that back to them. Okay? And basically you will receive 3 things as part. You'll get an unconditional offer. Unconditional offer means we don't require any A-level grades. We think you're wonderful. Or if you've already got A-levels, mostly that tends to happen for those who've taken their A-levels already. I call them Year 14. They're the students who are applying during their gap year. You'll get a conditional offer. Conditional offer means we require you to get 3 Bs, 3 As, an A, a B, C and a D, something like that. Or that you are unsuccessful. We have had the smallest number of unsuccessful applications ever this year from the current Year 13 because, yes, they were aspirational, but the majority did not go too high in their aspiration above their predicted grades. And I'll talk about aspirational offers another occasion. But basically, you know where you're at this present moment in time. You know what your progress is. And therefore, I always say to students, the sort of courses you should be going for should not really be more than 1 grade, possibly 2, above what we are going to be predicting you for your predicted grades. So, for example, if we predicted you 3 Bs, ideally, the university, the highest you should apply for is an A and 2 Bs. You could go for 2 As and a B, but you stand the chance of being rejected. If you went for 3 As, you'll definitely be unsuccessful. Okay, once you have your offers, and we've still got students who've yet to reply, we have things you can do, and number 1 is you accept your first choice, and you have this insurance, which is the one that is normally for some lower grades, which is the alternative should you fail to get your actual grades on confirmation day or fail to get a place on confirmation day. We have 2 other options. There's something called extra, which if you don't get any offers by sort of February time or that, you can actually apply for extra, which is 1 university at a time. And there is something called clearing. In the good old days, clearing used to happen after results day. These days, clearing offers opens earlier when, in fact, universities still have spaces on courses and you can apply at that point. So here we go. Here is the summary of the process. You register on the UCAS Hub. We do those various bits and pieces, and hopefully the result is you go to university very successfully. Now, this, for you, is going to become available for the first time ever on the 1st of September primary has only been available to me, and that is a look at the grades that people have got to study this particular course. So, for example, if we had biology at Reading, what it's actually saying here is that the majority of the students, what are we up at, about 30%, maybe they wanted 3 Bs as their normal offer, but actually they found a whole lot of students have got in with B and 2 Cs. Okay? And you can actually look at that and say, well, okay, their offer, their normal offer might be 3 Bs, but I'm predicted BBC, and you can see that they've gone down this road. So I stand a good chance that I can take that as an aspirational. Okay? That tool, those graphs, will be available to students through the UCAS hub from the 1st of September. It's not available yet. They're still working, and the beta trials are going on to make sure, and it will come with explanatory notes, but you will be able to access that, which means you won't be coming to ask, can I see the grade profiles? Apprenticeships. Okay? If you are thinking about an apprenticeship, you can now run these 2 pathways side by side through UCAS. Okay? And basically you can be linked to apprenticeships which match the things you want to do, the things you are interested in. Okay? So you register on the hub. You have this option tile where you can sign up for apprenticeships, you can explore, you can build your profile, okay, you can search for vacancies, and from September you will be able to make your application, and the data can be transferred straight across from UCAS to the potential employer. That's the alternative route, and it makes it work very well. Okay? For apprenticeships, there's not one particular deadline. You can apply all the way through the year. Most apprenticeships come open from about January. Okay, large organisations, okay, so particularly some of the banking organisations tend to have multiple application times, and some of them will actually say, we would like you from the 1st of July. You say, hang on, I've only just finished my A-levels. Just remember, they are going to be paying you. In other words, they want you to have actually done a couple of months with them before you actually go off to university, do the first part of your university course, then they will have you back for the Easter and certainly for the following summer, okay? But after all, they are paying your £9,000 worth of admission fees. They will also be giving you money for your accommodation. So I think giving up a little bit of holidays, because you're not giving up the holidays, you're being paid, okay? So it's really worth thinking about. High apprenticeships, okay, for the September-October take-in, okay, tend to recruit primarily from February onwards. So have a look at that, see what's available if you're interested in that. Okay, and as I said, this is something that we'll work through. You can read that through. I will make the slide deck available. Okay, so as we run down the last few bits and pieces, you need to register on the UCAS hub. Okay, currently 68 of you have registered. Do not use your school email address. Okay, I will keep repeating this because as of the 31st of July, the current year 13, their Google Classroom access is turned off. Therefore, that email address does no longer work. Okay? What you don't want to happen is the university keep trying to write to you to send you important information, okay, on that email address. It needs to be a personal email address. As Mr. Crockford actually said, now is the time to get an adult email address. Okay? I must admit, on one occasion I worked with an outside organisation as well. I once asked somebody to supply me more information who was applying for a job. The person was in their 40s and their email address still said cuddly teddy bear. And I thought this person must be worth it. In fact, they were quite an interesting person. I think it was deliberately done. But you need a sensible email address. Plan your open days. Now, let me say one thing about open days, and that is if you wish to go to an open day, ideally you need to go at weekends. However, Oxford, Cambridge and a lot of the medical ones, their open days are during the week. You can go to weekday open days, but you need to email me and I will authorise it. Okay? You need to let us know a reasonable time in advance, because I don't read my emails every day, so it's no good sending me an email Tuesday night to say I want to go to an open day tomorrow on the Wednesday, because I don't work Wednesdays, most Wednesdays. Okay? So, but you also need to register, as I said. You register, sign up for the subject talks. Okay? And you need to gather your information. If you've got any questions, send them to me. Right. Very quickly, UCAS Hub. Let me just go through these slides very quickly, how you set up. First of all, okay, there is some information to be gathered. Don't forget, this is the information that will go automatically across into your UCAS application. So make sure it is right. Okay? You need to tick this particular box here that actually says you have read and understood the bits and pieces. Do not use your school email address, as I've said. Okay? You will need to verify your email address, and it will send you back a code which you will have to type in. This is why I say best to do this on a PC, because it's much easier than trying to fiddle around on a phone, copying and pasting numbers across and flipping backwards and forwards. Okay? Once you've registered, make sure you pick the study year of 2025. Okay? Make sure you get the right year. Okay, and it will then start to gather information about you. You need to put down that you want to be an undergraduate. Would you like additional information? Well, there's the apprenticeships. You may tick that one. If you are looking to study music or something like that, you need to click on the conservatoires. And it then asks you for some information about where you live. Okay? And there are various options here about staying up to date with various information. You can select that. And you can put in some subjects which you think you might be interested in, because that will help the UCAS Hub guide you through the process. You can change them later on. Okay? You then need to search for your school. Okay? Make sure you pick the right one. And this next box is critical. You need to tick that you consent to share your data with us as you go through the application process. If you don't tick that box, we cannot, once your application has been gone through, we cannot see, we cannot track, we cannot give you any help with regard to post your application process. Okay? So it's vital that you actually tick that box. Okay? I had a student come to see me a couple of days ago who said, I'm not quite sure about this application, which university should I pick? And I went, you didn't tick the box. I can't see the information. I can't see the offers. I can't actually dig into the background and have a look in some more information. So that is very important, and it then says we will give you the buzzword, which is the next bit, okay, later on, but you scroll to the bottom and say create an account. That is all I want to share with you today.